Janine, you got them? Got them.
I think, no, I did not, sorry.
Monty? Motion to approve. Commissioner Martin, second. Any comments on it? Any comments for Dallas or any? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Public comment?
Any public comments? Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, so here's where we're getting ready to get into the legislative and the quasi-judicial. So it looks like it's gonna be a back and forth proceeding with quasi and then some legislative and back into quasi. So I know there's a lot of people here to, second readings, so a lot of this should go, pretty quick. And we shouldn't be getting in any rabbit holes on some of this. So, I'm gonna read in, we'll start out with number 7 here. Petition for Cedar Estates Edition replat. It's a quasi-judicial proceeding, resolution 2023-22. We are entering into a quasi-judicial procedure. This means that the commission will stop being a legislative body and will become a judicial board, which means that we have to follow certain rules and adhere to the different standards of decision-making. The primary rule we must follow concerns testimony, and the substantial and competent evidence standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. This standard states the following: all public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. I'm going to ask the Attorney General to read into the record the orders by resolution and title. But at this point, I will ask the city clerk to swear in all the applicants and staff and all the participants requesting to speak.
Acting city clerk, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna do this all for one. If nobody enters the room or leaves the room, then we will stick exactly what we're doing here for all quasis.
Okay. So please stand and raise your right hand if you can. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these cases is the whole truth?
I do.
Name?
Brian Thomas.
Any quasi tonight or legislative, any of?
I'm totally new. I'll probably just see if I can do actual
Okay,
commissioner.
okay,
So maybe I'll just wait, feet with
okay. Out, that's fine, sir.
I'm not missing you.
Fine.
Okay, I've got you, thank you.
Duly sworn. Scott, will you read in the, first one here, number 7, sir, by title?
This is a resolution 2023-22, SD 22-13, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving a preliminary plat for Cedar Estates Edition subdivision within the residential single-family 2 RSF2 zoning district as authorized under Section 5.16 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, tax parcel numbers 01951-005-014, 01951-005-015, 01951-005-016, 01951-005-017, and 01951-005-018, and lastly, 01951-005-019, consisting of approximately 2.5 acres, repealing resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion at the appropriate time, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, will be to pass resolution number 2023-22 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte communication and disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Ex parte communications are any conversations or transmissions of information that may have bearing or influence on any voting member. Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Farnsworth? I have none. Commissioner Coleman? None. We have none. I'll explain the order of presentations, and then we will do each quasi-judicial as follows. We will give a presentation overview, which is the staff. Then we'll give an applicant the present. If the applicant is present, we'll have the application, no time limit, the staff report and recommendation, no time limit. There are no third-party interveners. We will have the applicant may cross-examine, staff may cross-examine, members of the decision-making body through the chair may ask questions of the staff and the applicant. Final argument may be made by the applicant, party interveners, and then the staff related solely to the evidence and testimony. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. We will have deliberations of the application. After deliberations, we will have a vote taken to approve with conditions, deny, continue, or deny the application. So on the first one, Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, this is Resolution 2023-22. It's an application for preliminary plat approval from the Commission on Cedar Estates Addition subdivision. This is an infill project. As you're probably all aware, there's a few lots in Cedar Estates that have never been built on. That generally is because the infrastructure was not completed back in 1974 when it was originally platted. I was just a little kid back then, so I can't tell you why that didn't happen, but usually it's something happens with a developer and they can't complete the infrastructure, which is why we have our surety agreements nowadays to make sure that those infrastructure improvements get completed so you don't have what we have here. Lot sizes do comply with the RSF2 zoning district, which the neighborhood is in, which is a minimum of 10,000 square feet. There's the current lot configuration is 6 lots. They were really large lots, which afforded the developer the opportunity to not only create an additional buildable lot, but also take out the stormwater retention basin, a big lot for the stormwater retention bases, which is required under current development standards. It wasn't required back in the 70s when this was originally platted. The retention basin will be owned and maintained by a homeowners association. Be served by the neighborhood will be served by the city of Newberry's utility systems. And the plat was reviewed by our city surveyor, and they have made the adjustments as recommended by the city surveyor. Just to familiarize everybody, the yellow square with the red on the perimeter is the entirety of Cedar Estates. The area in question is the little red section down in the southeast corner. This is the current configuration, lots 13 through 19. Excuse me, not 13. 13 is built on 14 through 19. And then this is the proposed configuration. And so you still have same general configuration. The lot number 1, which is over there in the southwest side, that's the large stormwater basin required by the Water Management District. And then the remaining lots go up and around, and you have 7 lots, again, all compliant with the minimum 10,000 square foot requirement for RSF2 zoning district. This is a look at the overall plat. So on February 6th, it was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board, which recommended unanimously for approval of the replat. So staff recommends the commission approve application SD 22-13 through resolution 2023-22, approving the preliminary plat for Cedar Estates Addition subdivision. The developer's agent is here, but they don't have a presentation of their own, and that's why I went through. I meant to mention that at first. That's why we didn't stop after the overview for the presentation by the applicant. They're here to answer any questions, though, that you might have.
Okay. Will we roll on down? Any public comments on this? None? The applicant ain't here.
The applicant's agent.
Do you have anything you'd like to say on this?
No, we have no comments, and we agree with the staff.
Okay. Sorry about that. I missed right over. Third party, public comments. Would you like to cross-examine? Nope. Staff, you're giving the report. Anything you want to cross-examine on yourself?
No, thank you.
Members of the decision-making body, you have questions?
Brian, with the addition of the lots and everything, I'm guessing the road that goes in and out, the main road there, that's owned by the city?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. Once it's completed, it'll be inspected and approved by the city for dedication, and then the city would take it over.
Well, I'm wondering about the current.
Oh, the current roads, yes, sir. Those are already owned by the city.
And is there going to be any kind of improvement to that road? Ingress and egress?
Mr. Mayor, not as part of this application, because the city already owns those and they're adequate for the purpose that they were designed for. The new road would only address the need for the undeveloped portion of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good with? Scott, just since Commissioner Mazon just walked in, do we need to exclude him off of this one, or we just roll?
He's okay. Martin has caught him up to speed.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Final arguments, everything. Staff, applicant, any final arguments? Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law?
Pro Tem, it would be the same for each one of these quasi-judicial matters, which is the substantial and competent evidence standard.
Sir,
Sir.
any more deliberations on this? Take the motion. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more comments from the dais, from the public? All in favor? Aye. Aye. We'll go right back through this again. Quasi. Scott, will you read into the record number 8?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2022-37, LDR 22-16, an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, relating to the rezoning of approximately 220 contiguous acres, more or less, pursuant to an application by the property owner of said acreage, amending the official zoning atlas of the city of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from agricultural A zoning district to the planned development PD zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel numbers are 01923-000-000 and 01923-004-000 and 01923-007-001, tax parcel number 01923-008-000, and lastly, 01923-009-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion at the appropriate time is to pass ordinance number 2022-37 upon reading by title only.
Thank you. Before
Sir.
we begin, any ex parte communications? So we will just roll right into it, the presentation with staff. Thank you, JP.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. John Paul Perez, Planning and Economic Development Department. This is the second reading of Ordinance 2022-37, a request to rezone 220 acres for a project known as Tanglewood, which is generally located at the southwest corner of Southwest 202 Street and State Road 26. I'm just going to give a brief introduction to the property, or to the request, and show the location. Then the agent will give up and provide an oral presentation. After that, I'll conclude with the staff report and recommendation. So the owner is Tanglewood Properties of Gainesville LLC. Agent is CHW Incorporated, who will be doing the oral presentation. And again, the request is to rezone 220 acres. With that comes a preliminary development plan as part of the plan development with the zoning and the land use. That preliminary development plan proposes 636 detached and attached single-family dwelling units, as well as 140,000 square feet of non-residential use, consisting of commercial intensive uses generally. Here's the general location of the subject property within the city limits of the city of Newberry. And here's an aerial image of the subject property. Again, I'm going to give it over to the applicant now to give their presentation, and then I'll go ahead and conclude with staff report. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to do the best I can tonight here. This is Jerry Diedenbach, again from CHW Professional Consultants on behalf of Tanglewood. I'm going to do the best thing I can. I'm not going to have a presentation tonight. I am merely going to say that based on the competent substantial evidence presented at the previous hearing, we're going to roll forward. I'm going to tell you 5 quick things plus one. Number one is that we have an agreement with Tropic Traditions to do a 50-foot wide landscape buffer around the entire property. And that means a permanent hedge of an appropriate plant species that will effectively create a green wall at maturity around Jim's nursery there. Number two, you all had asked us if we would look at a future street connection to the south. So we have a condition that's been added in since first reading that by the time we do a final development order for this, as opposed to just the zoning on it, we will investigate the feasibility of a southward connection so that should properties to the south in the future ever develop, we'll have an opportunity to have a road there. Number three, we have created HOA and deed disclosures that will clearly state upon entry, sales, and signing a contract that there is the possibility and real activity of mining subject to the context area, meaning active blasting, and also that there is an active commercial nursery. So when someone comes to look at a house and if they want to buy it, it'll be disclosed to them there. It'll be in their contract documents and in the homeowner's deed. So told you once, told you again, told you a third time. Number four, the commencement of the commercial. A certificate of occupancy must be issued for the commercial and or non-residential phases prior to issuance of a site development or building permit for the final phase. So in other words, we can get the commercial started earlier in this property. We heard you loud and clear at the earlier meetings. We scaled back the number of residential properties and increased the commercial in there, and this will allow some of that commercial to come on sooner. And as Gary stated last time, if people come there and he puts a sign up, he's going to build it. And then number five, the location of the water tower. So prior to getting a final development order, we're already working with the city staff and with Jamie to find the location of that. That corner where we had it behind Jim's nursery there is 14 feet higher than the far eastern corner out there by 202, which means 14 foot less of stand that you'd have to put on that water tower to get the same effect. So it is more efficient to put it on the west, but we will continue to work with the city of Newberry's professional staff. And then I guess finally, just want to say thank you and appreciation for your support a couple weeks ago. We heard what you said during the public hearing. We backed this number down. It was originally 725. We backed this down almost 100 homes in here so that we could specifically put more commercial in here. And it's something that Gary has been trying to do more with the properties in the city of Newberry. He, in fact, was the one who kind of brought a grocery store here, tried to get him on his property, but unfortunately they went out there on that little island piece, let's call it. But we are actively interested in, fulfilling what your wishes are, and that's grow commercial businesses here. So that's why we voluntarily had backed down on the residential. So those 5 things: 50-foot buffer, future connection to the south, HOA and deed disclosures, commencement of the commercial as soon as possible, and then location of the water tower in coordination with Mr. Jamie over there and the city staff. I look forward to your continued support. The 6th one is the fact that we reduced the housing. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Thank you all.
I'm going to give the staff report now, and thank Jerry for stealing my thunder. A lot of what I'm about to say is remarkably similar. We both have been working on this very passionately to make sure it's acceptable both to the community and the commission. So I'm going to just cover the amendments to the development order and the findings and recommendation from staff. So again, this is the subject property currently zoned ag. They're proposing a plan development which allows them to create their own development standards, set their housing units, et cetera. They're still staying within the residential low density density. So this is actually, I think, about a 2.7 dwelling units per acre that they're proposing for the overall development. And based on the results of the debate and discussion that occurred on February 13th, which was the first reading of the ordinance, the issues that were brought up were connectivity, siting of the future water tower, landscape buffering, HOA disclosures, and commencement of the commercial component. I'll try to breeze through this as quick as possible. So connectivity, we added language to the development order to assess, not assess, feasibility of connection to the south prior to final development plan. Siting of the future water tower, we removed the location-specific language from the development order as well as from the preliminary development plan that's included in the development order as well as the packet. Landscape buffering, we added language for the green wall with the suggested plant species. HOA disclosures, language was added for the specific adjacent uses, that being mining, the commercial nursery, as well as agriculture, active agriculture uses. Something to consider, and this is something that we'll talk about, I think maybe at final development plan, is maybe even doing a notice to buyers that's recorded against the plat, so whenever there's a title insurance pulled or a title opinion pulled for the property, that notice is there as well. That's something that the city could have control over once these disclosures become part of the HOA. There's really no enforcement mechanism, and that notice to buyers is kind of like a safety blanket saying, hey, you were duly noticed that these things were occurring in and or around the property that you were purchasing. And finally, the commencement of commercial component. There were no changes that were done. As Jerry had explained, it's commencement, prior to the commencement of the final phase of the development, they have to begin the commercial component. Otherwise, it's got to come back before the board, so that conversation will occur again. And that amendment can be denied or can be approved if commercial is just not there. But staff and I believe the agent too find it difficult to force commercial development without there actually being a need for it, because you'll end up with what are called red properties, which are tax burden properties, which is something neither the developer wants nor I'm sure the city wants, a tax burden property. So this is the revised preliminary development plan with the water tower site removed. We have to do geotech to find a suitable location. So that'll be something that'll be finalized in the final development plan. And I just want to go over the development review process, just so we're clear at where we're at in that. So right now we're doing zoning and future land use, which is the preliminary development plan. Once those are approved, this being the last component of the preliminary development plan, it's valid for 12 months. If nothing happens in 12 months, then it will revert back to agriculture. They have the opportunity to do a one-time extension, so they can get like a 24-month development order for the zoning and future land use. Within that 12-month period or 24-month period, they do need to submit a final development plan. That comes in the form of a plat and construction plans, and usually that'll accompany a development agreement as well for the infrastructure for the first phase, whatever phase that may be. So the phases on the preliminary development plan and probably the final development plan will be numbered, but they can occur in any order on that plan. That's valid for 2 years, the final development plan. They have an opportunity for a one-time extension. So from that final development plan, it could last another 4 years before we're requiring them to put a shovel in the ground. Say nothing happens, it reverts back to ag, all right? And then finally, construction. So once they put in water, sewer, and at least road base, they're considered necessarily vested for their agreement, and they have that's when the 20-year clock for the development order starts ticking. So that's the development process. And with that, staff finds the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and the Land Development Regulations, and we're recommending that the City Commission enact Ordinance 2022-37 on second reading. Thank you.
Jerry, when we were here talking about this last time, you had spoke a little bit about the arrangement for 202nd Street with the corn maze and trying to preserve the canopy.
Mhm.
Can you just remind me what that was? Because I happened to look down there the other day, and it looks like it's only kind of one car wide,
About right.
but I know you.
So, Mr. Mayor, the discussion that we had with staff is there are conditions in the PD that will cause us to reserve right-of-way on our side of 202, on the western side. There are also tasks in there that give the city of Newberry the opportunity to try to secure some on the east side of the road, or when those properties come in and seek some sort of development modification, that they would be bounded to contribute some right-of-way. The city was also going to look at grant funds for things like the Arbor Day Foundation, so that should we clear that or obtain that right-of-way for clearing for a future road, that kind of synonymous with widening that new trees could be planted in there. We'd like to try to keep that as a canopied street there, so those conditions were kind of specifically set out by JP, Brian, Mike, myself, and staff, so that, you know, it's a narrow road, and we kind of don't want to touch it until we absolutely have to, but if we do touch it, there's provisions in there to work collaboratively to restore the tree canopy before any, you know, major construction would happen, so that when you do build that road in there, there would be trees that'd be further out that'd be a little bit more robust species like live oaks and things like that, as opposed to a lot of the various secondary and successional species that are on there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Say that when we were talking about that, didn't we, when we were talking about that easement and taking that canopy out, wasn't there gonna be trees planted now? So we had 20 years of growth?
That was the idea, and that's how working
Okay.
perhaps with the Arbor Day Foundation or
And
other ways.
get them in there now.
Get
back
them in
off
there
the road.
now, because we're gonna start building at the west.
Right.
And so by the time we get over, that'll get,
Time to get
yeah,
things
years or
established.
maybe a couple decades worth of growth on them. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I wanted to apologize to you, Jerry, Gary Wiesman, and our staff. There was a little bit of confusion with me, you guys, on the process. So I do see development over there on the east side of Newberry. I just, personally, I don't see it now. So I want to clear that up. I do see development there. I just don't see it at this point. Sense?
You're good?
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? No? Mr. Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body one more time? Thank you, sir. If there's no more deliberations, I'll get a motion. Any public comments? Any more comments from the dais? All in favor? Oh, we gotta do roll call? Commissioner Mazon? No. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Farnsworth? No. Myself, yes. Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Passes 3-2. Okay, now we're fixing to end the quasi and go back into the legislative hearing for now, and then we'll go back into quasi. Okay, so, on the legislative reading, number 9, Scott, would you read that one in for us, sir?
Sir, this is ordinance 23-01, CPA 23-01. An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to an amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan of 50 or fewer acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under the small-scale amendment provisions of Section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural agriculture, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres, to the City of Newberry agricultural, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel numbers are 01859-001-000 and 01806-001-000, consisting of approximately 22.75 contiguous acres. Providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-01 as read by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
JP?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Similar to the first reading of these ordinances for the future land use amendments for the annexed properties, I'll be giving one presentation for the next 4 items. They are legislative. And then
These are all second readings.
These are all second readings, yes. And then following that will be the rezonings, another 4 items, same properties, one presentation at the beginning. Those are quasi, and then we'll move on in the agenda after that. So again, John Paul Perez, Planning and Economic Development Department. This is second reading of ordinances 2023-01, 03, 05, and 07. All future land use map amendments from county rural agriculture to City of Newberry agriculture for properties that were annexed on July 11th, 2022. These are all small scale.
1 second, JP.
Yes, sir.
Scott, do we need to read in every one of these before he presents all 4? On the
title, you mean?
Yes, sir, by title?
Yeah, we gotta do the title.
So we only just did that one.
Just on this one legislative.
We got 4 of them.
Yeah.
So you want to read all 4 at once and then get
No,
Just
one at a time.
one at a time? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor. And again, these are like-for-like future land use map amendments. January 3rd, Planning and Zoning Board hearing was, these received a recommendation for approval, and then January 23rd, City Commission first reading, they were approved on first reading. This presentation is going to be a little bit briefer than the past. Item number 9 is ordinance 2023-05. And again, County Ag to City Ag. Item number 10 is ordinance 2023-07, County Ag to City Ag. Item number 11, ordinance 2023-01 is going to be County Ag to City Ag. And item number 12 is ordinance 2023-03, again, County Agriculture to City Agriculture. And here's a general overview of where those properties are located within the city limits of the City of Newberry with their corresponding item numbers on the agenda. And staff finds the request consistent with the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulations. And these are our recommended motions on the items. City is the applicant in this scenario, so that completes the presentation portion. Thank you.
So we will do each one then for 2023-01. Is there any discussion from the dais? Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Got a second? Any comments, public comments? Any more comments from the dais? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Scott, will you read in number 10?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2023-03. 4-91 is amended, relating to an amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan of 50 or fewer acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under the small-scale amendment provisions of section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural agriculture, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres, to the city of Newberry agricultural, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel number is 01887-010-000, consisting of approximately 4.35 contiguous acres of land, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is pass ordinance number 2023-03 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Sure.
Any discussion from the dais on this one? So moved.
Second.
Any public comments? Any more comments from the dais? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Scott, would you read in number 11?
This is an ordinance number 2023-05, CPA 23-03, an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to the amendment of the future land use plan map of the city of Newberry comprehensive plan of 50 or fewer acres of land under the small scale development amendment procedures established under the small scale amendment provisions of section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural/agricultural, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres, to the city of Newberry agricultural, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel number is 01928-005-000, consisting of approximately 20.68 contiguous acres of land, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-05 upon its reading by title only.
Scott, any public comments? Any comments from the dais? Get a motion? Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Pass unanimously. We'll go one more time. This
This is
is
ordinance
pretty
number.
steady. Thank you, Scott.
Sure. Ordinance number 2023-07, CPA 23-04, an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to an amendment of the future land use plan map of the city of Newberry comprehensive plan of 50 or fewer acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under the small-scale amendment provisions of section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural agricultural, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres, to the city of Newberry agriculture, less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel numbers are 01834-008-000 and 01834-012-000, consisting of approximately 40 acres contiguous land, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is pass ordinance number 2023-07 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Sir.
Any public comments? Any comments from the dais on this? Get a motion? Got it, Janine? Okay. Maison.
Oh,
Maison.
was you motion and then?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. All right, now we go back into quasi. Now we, yeah. We've already had everybody, nobody has came in new on the quasi. So, Scott, will you read in number 13?
Sir.
On
This
the
is-
quasi, please, sir.
This is ordinance number 2023-02, LDR 23-01, an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of 22.75 acres more or less pursuant to an application by the City of Newberry, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agricultural A zoning district to City of Newberry Agricultural A zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been annexed thereto. Tax parcel numbers are 01806-001-000 and 01859-001-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-02 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you. Before we begin, any ex parte communications on this property? Commissioner Coleman?
None.
Commissioner Mazon?
None.
Martin?
No, sir.
Commissioner Fonte? None of myself. JP?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, John Paul Perez, Planning and Economic Development Department. This is the second reading of ordinances 2023-02, 04, 06, and 08, rezoning from county agriculture to city agriculture for 4 different properties within the city limits of the City of Newberry. Again, this is relating to the properties annexed on July 11th. This is a ministerial procedure, essentially, because we're going from county ag to city ag, so they can pull building permits on their property. Like for rezonings, same as the land use, January 3rd, there was a recommendation for approval, and on January 23rd, City Commission approved all ordinances on first reading. These rezonings are contingent upon approval of the future land use map amendment. I don't think I have a slide in here, but after this hearing, should everything be approved, we'll be transmitting to the state to let them know that we've adopted the land use changes. And then we'll be updating our, once we have a response from the state, updating our zoning atlas and future land use map. Item number 13, and again, this is one presentation for all those ordinances. Item number 13 is ordinance 2023-02, rezoning from county ag to city ag. Item number 14 is ordinance 2023-04, rezoning from county ag to city ag. Item number 15, ordinance 2023-06, rezoning county ag to city ag. And item number 16, ordinance 2023-08, rezoning from county ag to city ag. And again, just a general map showing the location of all the properties within the city limits of the City of Newberry. Staff finds the request consistent with the comprehensive plan and land development regulations. This slide contains all of our recommended motions on the ordinances. And I'm sure you're very excited to get to the water main project for County Road 337. So I'll sit down and let you guys take your votes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Since this is basically internal, there is no applicant. The staff that has gave you the report and the recommendation. Any public comments on either or any of these?
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, since John Paul has done the presentation on all of these, he's been duly sworn, he's put the evidence into the record, we can go straight to reading these ordinances, provided there's no ex parte by any of the commissioners for any of the next 3 items in addition to this one.
Okay.
None.
None here.
Zero.
None. So we're good there. So we want to do them individually like we just did, Scott?
Individually, yeah,
Okay.
but we can just go straight to the reading
Okay.
since he's done his thing.
So now at this point, there's nothing else. Any members of the decision-making body got any questions for the staff? Seeing none. Any final arguments from either? Seeing none. City Attorney, will you give the decision-making body the applicable law?
Substantial competent evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
He's gotta read it in.
He already did the first one,
Oh,
right?
you did? Okay.
The one we already read in.
Mazon word.
All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Okay, at this point, Scott, will you read in number 15?
Yes, sir. Is this 14, I
I mean,
believe,
14,
right?
sorry.
14.
Got myself
Ordinance
here.
number 2023-04 LDR 23-02, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for a zoning of 4.35 acres, more or less, pursuant to an application by the City of Newberry, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for the rezoning of Alachua County Agricultural A zoning district to the City of Newberry Agricultural Zoning District on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been annexed thereto by tax parcel numbers 01887-010-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-04 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. So we've had everything, staff overview, report. At this point, anybody in the decision-making body got any questions for the staff or anybody? Any final arguments by staff? Nobody else? City Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body?
Substantial competent evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
I can get a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. We will move on. Scott, you read number 15.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 2023-06, LDR 23-03, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of 20.68 acres more or less pursuant to an application by the City of Newberry, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agricultural A zoning district to the City of Newberry Agricultural A zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been annexed thereto. Tax parcel number is 01928-005-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is pass ordinance number 2023-06 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Sir.
We've already had the overview. Anybody in the decision-making body got any questions? None? Any final arguments, JP? None? City Attorney, will you read the decision-making body to applicable law?
Substantial and competent evidence.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I got it. All in favor? Aye. Pass unanimously. Thank you. This is our last quasi. Scott, would you please read number 16 into the record?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2023-08, LDR 23-04, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of 40 acres more or less pursuant to an application by the City of Newberry, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agricultural A zoning district to the City of Newberry Agricultural A zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been annexed thereto. Tax parcel numbers are 01834-008-000 and 01834-012-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-08 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. We have had the staff overview, public comments. Seeing none. Staff, any comments? Seeing none. Any final arguments? Seeing none. City Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body?
Substantial and competent evidence.
Thank you, sir. I get a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously.
Welcome to Newberry.
Welcome, yeah. Well, at this point, that is absolutely all the quasis. Everybody can come in, leave, and do what they want to at this point.
Where'd you come from?
Been hiding in the corner, thought I'd have a longer nap.
And here we go with number 17. We got an agenda item with a 337 water main extension project. Mr. Jamie, take it away.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is the Newberry 337 Water Main Project 2022-08. The recommended action is to authorize the city manager to execute a contract, including owner direct purchasing terms and conditions in the amount of $1,249,227 for the total of the base bid with Andrews Paving, Inc. for the Newberry 337 Water Main Project. And number two, authorize the city manager to approve change orders not to exceed 15% of the contract amount. As you may recall, this project was originally identified in 2009 in a water system modeling engineering study done by Jones Edmonds and Associates. This board also approved this as part of the fiscal year 2023 budget process. That study identified this particular area as an area of concern for fire flow and the water main looping. So on a 11/30/2022, RFP 2022-08 was put out for competitive bids, with bids being due January 17th, 2023. City of Newberry received one response to this. We have evaluated the response and determined that Andrews Paving is the responsive and responsible bidder on the base bid amount of $1,249,227. So once again, it's staff's recommendation that the commission award this project to Andrews Paving for the base bid amount of $1,249,227 with owner direct purchase terms and conditions, and also authorize the city manager to approve change orders not to exceed 15% of the contract amount. Available for questions.
Anybody got questions? A lot of money.
So, to that note,
About
that's,
$150,000 on $1 million.
Mr. Mayor, the key component is the owner direct purchase conditions. So basically, you put the project out, you let the contractor bid with materials and tax. When you put the conditions in, when you execute the base bid contract, he automatically moves forward and gives you a deductive change order for the amount of the materials, and the city issues direct purchase orders for that, and you realize the tax savings. So even though you're awarding a contract for $1.2 million, the materials on this project are slated to be approximately $600,000. I would give you a hard number on that, but that keeps moving the longer it takes to award this. So we'll automatically get a deductive change order of approximately $600,000, and you'll be authorizing the city manager to execute change orders on 15% of the remaining contract amount.
I think every contract presented to you in the last between 10 and 20%, the more complex unknowns, it gets higher. But I'd say 15, Jamie selected 15 because it's got a level of complexity, but not the most complex project that we undertake.
Two areas of concern for justification for the 15%. There's a potential for a high level of unsuitable materials in the excavation here. We don't have the ability to quantify that. And I have no doubt in this particular area that we will find utilities that we're unaware of that we will have to reconnect.
Questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Farnsworth.
Whenever you put out a project like this, do you have a way of determining that they're doing a good job or not doing a good job? How's that?
We actually, our staff inspects the project and we approve the pay request, and there's retainage on the project. We actually retain a percentage of the pay request each time to ensure completion.
And if we bought you a new backhoe and a couple shovels, could you do it yourself?
We do not have the staff to undertake a project of this size.
What's the retainage on that?
10%. They did change the statute, and you have the ability to reduce it midway through the project.
What you're saying, that we've already bought the pipe?
No.
We're gonna buy it under us.
Yes.
And then that'll save us really the portion that we're talking about here.
Yeah, we will actually move forward once you approve this with putting purchase orders out to the suppliers. That'll lock us in. Construction probably won't start till late April, early May, because pipe is a long lead item right now.
But being honest with me, Jamie, this is in your wheelhouse, ain't it?
This is kind of what I do.
I know.
All right, any more discussion? Any more questions? Well, it looks like we need a, motion to approve ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
We got, boy, that didn't take long to get going. Looks like you got some money, Jamie. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Well, that, wraps up number 17, and, we'll get to comments. City manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just congratulations to Mayor Marlowe, Commissioners Martin and Mazon on their successful run for reelection. Well done. And as you know, the mayor's out of town. He's in D.C. Trying to bring home more good things or change the legislation so that it positively impacts Newberry. We are working, I say we, staff is working on a trip to Tallahassee, similar in nature. The legislative session begins next Monday, and so the legislatures will be in town. We'll meet both with legislatures and with State Department staff to seek moving further on initiatives that the commission has started with us, wastewater plants, some grants we've applied for, FDOT projects, things of that nature. We're working on that trip next week. Haven't got everything confirmed. Once we lock down a date, we'll extend an invitation that if any of our elected officials would like to travel along and impart their wisdom and their influence with elected officials at the state level, we'll welcome your attendance. We'll keep you posted on that. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
Must be doing something right. Populace, I cannot remember a city commission in any of the cities we represent where there's no election, so congratulations to
Well done.
all three.
Yeah, my third year,
Correct.
my third time.
Well, that was good. It was a clean sweep, and we continue doing what we're doing.
No further comment.
No further comments. City clerk? You sure? Now's your chance.
We don't know what you did, but you've done a dadgum good job of it.
Judy's treated me well so far.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, in Judy's absence, Janine's just barely getting her feet wet in this and gets thrown into the fire. So when she got the news this morning that, hey, you're it, she's handled it with grace all day. Could barely see the sweat beads popping out. No, I'm kidding. She did a fantastic job and jumped right in there. So
And she
I think
actually
she's
said,
to be
she said
commended.
tonight she had me, and I didn't realize she was doing this tonight. And since Jordan throwed me under the bus to go to DC, we both got it. Thanks, Janine.
Exactly. Well done, Janine.
Commissioner Mazon?
Actually, I got a couple things here. Huh?
Birds fly.
Birds fly. What does that mean?
I don't know, you gonna say something? A little jokey joke of some kind.
Jokey joke, huh? First of all, I wanted to show staff recognition, and you guys can let me know if you guys are familiar with who this is. She's been with the company. She's been with the city of Newberry for 12 years. She started over at Diamond Fill off 100 Parker Road, right? So, some stats here. She developed programming for the youth, seniors at one of our community centers. She leads the decorations for the city's sponsored events, ensuring we are well represented. She is the liaison, just probably gonna give it away, the liaison for the concerned citizens. She coordinates senior bingo and lunch, and she's just a talented individual. Can you take a guess at which city
Yeah, lunch
employee
and-
this is? Latasha Griffins. She does a very good job over at MLK. So I wanted to give her some acknowledgement. Good job to her. Yes.
Nice.
Now this one here, this is one of our businesses in the city of Newberry. I thought this was pretty cool upon my deliveries. So there are criteria that there's 84, I want to say, of these franchises. Okay. And some of the criteria are, comp sales, total controllable income, average drive-through time, kind of gave it away there a little bit. Yep. Breakfast, 6-minute car waits, But anyways, there's more, and there's like, complaints and whatnot. So there, in our county, there's 2 that made this top 10 list. And the city of Newberry hit number 2 out of 84 stores. Hardee's. So I thought that was a huge accomplishment. That was a huge accomplishment that we're number 2. And actually, the other one was High Springs. They're number 7. So.
Won the biscuit making contest 1 year.
Yeah,
Years ago. Yep.
They sure won that.
Yeah, so I mean, so go Newberry.
Go Newberry.
Now here's your bird flying. So my wife's birthday. So my wife's birthday is coming up next month. So I asked her, I said, so what do you want for your birthday? She said, nothing would please me more than to get me a diamond necklace. So I got her nothing.
Fantastic. I'd put this out on Facebook, but I am flattered, I guess, to not be opposed in the election. But really, I think it's one of those situations where I kind of accept the award on the behalf of the city staff and the rest of you guys. Very proud of the work that we get done here in the city. I love that we are able to move things along with the city future in mind, as well as the past. And I continue to enjoy everything that I do. I really feel like we make a difference in the lives of the 8,000 people that we represent here, along with those businesses as well. So I do not take it lightly. I actually kind of consider my whole 2-year term as really the campaign season. As long as I do my job, then I feel like I've done my part. So I appreciate everybody that comes alongside of the different things that we put in motion here, and it does not go unnoticed. So thank you very, very much.
Congratulations to the 2 commissioners and the mayor on their non-opposed reelection. And I would like to remind people, I believe the youth fair is this weekend out at the Equestrian Center. It starts on Friday, and it's excellent. If you've never been to it, you really need to go out there and take a look, and they have some great things going on out there. So go out and take a look and join in the festivities. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Coleman?
Congratulations, guys. You too, Mayor. Also, I want to recognize Miss Judy. I think she powered through it this last week. I could tell she was sick, just talking to her several times. But she stayed to the end just in case somebody was to come in. So, I think that's it. That's good.
That's good?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yeah, I was going to come up with a joke, but I don't want to do it.
You better leave that alone. And for me, I just say, same thing. God bless America, and thank y'all, and thank the staff for what you do. As always, thank y'all for helping me today get through this, and y'all the leadership and everybody. But thank you, and this meeting is adjourned. No public comments. I forgot. I am so sorry for you.
I'm not talking.
Come on. Any public comments? I'm sorry.
I know, but I'm learning as I go.
Hey, I did too.
I'm going to be here next time. So.
Do you have something? You just been here looking pretty all night, ain't you?
Yeah, he's just
Trying to learn, all right. You sure you don't have nothing to say? Anything about a ball game?
no ball games?
Oh, we had a terrible time.
Okay. Well, public comments, meeting adjourned. You should have said that before I hit the gavel.